Okay, welcome. This is a free live lecture, and man, you got so close to that snake. Yeah, right? It was moving fast. This is a free lecture on love, and I wanted to share these ideas as a synthesis of a much longer lecture that I want to what's a good word for this? I almost want to say like reconstitute. Like I want to just say it to you. You know what I mean? And so I have some notes and we'll just go right into it. The ideas on love. Why? Because I've gone through relationship after relationship and recently a relationship that brought a lot of deeper awareness of what's in me. And I'll call it like even the dirt in me. I'll say I found the dirt in me, and I'll get to why I call it that. It starts with the forces of nature are invisible. If you see that the forces of nature are invisible, that you don't see gravity, you don't see electricity, you don't see light. You see when it creates an effect, but you don't see those forces. And there's something called human nature. Human nature has forces of nature that cause male and female to gravitate towards each other or repel from each other. And so when we're talking about human nature, we're talking about invisible forces that create an effect, a visible effect. You can tell when two people are bonding or repelling. Now, part of love, this force of love is comfort. This is something I personally put a little extra conscious intention into. Create comfort. Because love doesn't always have to be romantic between man and woman, but definitely we're talking about that right now. Is comfort is a very big part of it. And if you can make sure that she is comfortable, or if you're a she, you can make sure that he is comfortable. Love comes with the comfort. Oh, by the way, I was saying this is a free lecture because what would normally happen is I do my silent flute lecture I'm in Central Time at 7 p.m. Central, or whatever that, 5 p.m. Pacific. But I was anticipating going to a very special yoga class this evening. And however, when I signed up for it, and YOLO, you would like this, when I signed up for this class, there's a capacity because it's just now opening up with the lockdown, and I got on the waiting list. So I didn't make it into the class. So I already postponed my silent flute lecture. And so instead I was going over these notes and I was like, damn, I want to spill this out. I'll probably go over it more in Behavior Code podcast tomorrow, but this is just a free lecture on love. So we start with human nature has invisible forces. The forces of human nature make visible effects on people, but you don't see the forces. We're talking about subconscious behaviors, genetic attraction, that what attracts and makes comfortable and causes the mutual seduction of male, female in humans. It's invisible, but it creates a visible effect. So we are hacking this. Part of it is comfort. Make her feel comfortable, and that's part of it. Because if she's uncomfortable, there's not a feeling of love right there. There's some degree of comfort, and it's associated with you. And moving onwards, this is, I want to talk a lot about this actually tomorrow in the silent flute, because the lecture is postponed to whatever tomorrow, 4 p.m. I think Pacific. Just for any of you watching that's in it. I'll go way into the magi and working with the electromagnetic force, how to use your emotion to create a visible change in you, and to be doing that consciously to create a change in other people or another person. And so magic, but we create and we let it go. So a big practice, I know this might be over your head, but a big practice for anybody in the ninth limb is letting go. You got to let go, because ninth limb, remember, is communication. So your communication, you got to let go of your outcome, that you need it to go a certain way. Let go of that. And when you let go, you'd be amazed at what happens, the boomerang of life. So what gets in the way of that is my reacting. And this is earlier I said, I have this terminology now of reacting. My reactions, I'm talking about the negative ones, and really any of them, but the negative ones are, the ones that create mental unrest or social disturbance, is a dirt in me. I am dirty on something, meaning there's unconsciousness, there's gray, just a dirty corner, you could say, of the room that you haven't swept. If you haven't gotten that to that part of your mind, you haven't swept that out, there's dirt in that part of your mind. And your mind is not necessarily your brain. Don't think of it as like 3-dimensional, because it's 4-dimensional. Your mind goes forward and back, right? So you can store, this is beyond the scope of what I'm talking about now. But the reaction is somewhere in me I'm unconscious of. And so it's dirty. That's what I look at it like that, because I want to sweep my mind, not like wipe it clean, but like sweep it for unconscious behaviors. Because remember, we're working with forces of nature between men and women. And if you're doing things unconsciously, then you're creating unconsciously. Your behaviors are attracting to you the prospects of your life. The prospect, it's amazing. Love is like prospecting for your life. Like we prospect yoga studios, realtors prospect homes or whatever. We I don't want to use the word relationship, but in courtship, that's the word. We in courtship are selling ourselves. We're prospecting other people to sell our lives to. Are they qualified to sell your life to? That's what it is. And when you look at it as a sale and an exchange, it's very easy to see roles. What are the roles here? Because there's something that I'm not really able to offer that you are, and vice versa. So this is really good. I really like this key point. Remember, this comes from another lecture, a bigger lecture from my teacher. And I see this over and over in myself, and I have to, take the blame. I say, because I only blame myself when things go wrong, because ultimately I'm valued as a man with experience. Part of being a man, I think, is having wisdom and experience. And for my lack of experience, then I must fall back on my response. Is my response what is my response to not knowing the answer? And how does that come out? So sometimes I have reactions. Those reactions are from clouded consciousness, unconscious behaviors. And when I say I mean like all of us. Come on, you're not beyond this, right? I mean, go ahead and comment if you think you're beyond this, and go ahead and comment if you think you're not beyond this. I want to hear both sides of this, participation, bonus points. But the reactions are from a clouded consciousness, somewhere in my associations, in my relationship with her, with them, with whoever, but with her, let's say. A reaction, she follows. My reaction, she follows. Man leads. Part of being a man is you lead, and recognize that you lead, because it's going to happen unconsciously. No matter what you think of other people's relationships, at some point, if they're having sex, he is leading and she is following, and in the most vulnerable of ways and positions. So that being a core root of relationships, like it's part of that. People try to shy away, like it's not based on that. It's not based on that, but it's still at the core. Without that exchange, and it doesn't need to be penetration, it's a sexual exchange, the intimacy of the inward flow. That's what's happening in sex. Anyway, he's leading, and he's leading how to love. There's the phrase. He's leading, she's following in how he's leading how to love. How is he loving you? And then here's the challenge as a leader is, if I react, or if I ever lose control, there's a lag. She will be kind at some point. She'll flip. I'll flip, because this weird toxic behavior of just not being aware. She's following how you lead how to love. And part of that, how you lead how to love, is not chasing her. Don't lead her by chasing her. You don't lead people by chasing them. She's going to run away if you chase her. She's going to run if you chase her. She wants to be pulled in. Every man is chasing her. She wants to be pulled in. How you pull her in? What is this sound? Is this from outside? She wants to be pulled in. She doesn't want to be preyed upon, you know. But the secret is you are preying upon her, but it's conscious. It's through words. It's not, and it's not, let me put a disclaimer. When I say prey on her, like that's not like some violent, like don't be a sexual predator. But I'm saying if you look at it that you are dominant and you must entice the deer as the tiger to become your friend. And if you see it as this energy that you are the predator, she is the prey, but you come to equal because the power differential adds to the polarizing energy, this difference. And then you lead. You can't lose control of your tiger quality. That's not cool. That's not cool. Mature, and this is, I'm getting ahead of myself. So I'll skip that one. So actually it's right into what I was going to say. Maturity here. This is a big word, big theme in my life right now. It's amazing at 33, how much immaturity I had just by looking at maturity and really going into it. Let's look it up. Mature definition. Mature, fully developed, having reached the most advanced stage in a process. Reach the end of term. So reach the most advanced stage. And that goes back to skill. When I say that she's relying on your skill as a man and whatever it is, but at a core, it's going to be your skill in how to love, because that is a skill. If that's not a skill, I mean, maybe some people are talented at how to love, but if it can be replicated, there's a process to it. If a human is doing it, there is a process that it can be, taught to someone else, which would take steps. And that's a skill. If there's steps to it, then you can get good at those steps. It's a skill. So loving somebody is a skill. And maturity, I see how the maturity in my relationships have changed, especially entering into the relationships, the beginnings, the end. It's amazing how much evolution may happen in them. And that has a lot to do with something else I'll talk about at another time, which is about multiple relationships. But the beginnings of the relationships, look at how you have entered into the relationships and what was your datum for that being love? Like, was that mature love or immature love? Like, we're on the spectrum of immature love, which was just be animal. Mature love is the most advanced stage in the process, right? And so mature love, think of it like this. This is what I've come up with and I've listed here. Mature love looks at what is it going to do for your future. That's mature love. Now, that's not always the way to seduce a woman, is not just looking at the future, but that's a variable for a long-term relationship, maybe a lifetime relationship, is what is the relationship going to do for your future? She needs to know this. And I hear from many women, and a lot of guys don't seem to know this when I talk with them. They're not putting enough attention on what is your future you're providing her. Not that that's your purpose. It's not your purpose, but that's what needs to be communicated to her, because you're selling the person on your life. And they don't need to know that if you're selling them a air conditioner unit, they don't need to know what you know about, working on your Mazda, or computer hacking. It's irrelevant information, or yoga. Like, you're selling on the thing that you're selling them on a future with you. Okay, mature love looks at what it does for your future. Now, this next one, it's kind of shifting a little bit into, I don't know if DC is still on. DC loves this idea, the self-talk, ideas of self-talk. Okay, this was a huge aha moment for me when I heard Arash say it. It's like, I want a woman that talks herself, or a person, let's say if you're a woman watching, I want a person that talks themselves into liking me. I think as a guy, I am always talking myself into liking the girl. Like, sometimes I talk myself out of liking the girl too. You need to be conscious of the power in your speech. And we'll go over that way deep into the silent flute tomorrow. And by deep, I don't mean long. That's different, right? Depth is different, especially when we're talking about the mind. Remember, it's a four-dimensional, subtle space. You don't see it. So going deep, you wouldn't even know if it was deep. Is that a mile away, or is it right here, but deeply concentrated, right? So we'll go into this tomorrow, but talking yourself into liking the person, the magic of it. And you want to create that in her. You want her to have that, or you want her to naturally have that. You know, I'm always looking for the person that is my fan, not my hater, that's not critiquing me. They're talking themselves into liking me. And she will go through phases of that, especially throughout the month and throughout the stages of your relationship, how you relate with her. Is she saying positive things about you or not when you're away? Okay. So moving on. We're almost done here. This is a quick lecture on love. How do you guys feel about this? The only comments I get are about this damn ice cream. What do you think about this lecture on love? Okay. Moving on. Man, this one's rad. This is a bullet. Remember, this is a bullet from a much larger lecture that I'm just synthesizing for you. This is a lecture on love. And think of it like this. We know we have references for things because of their opposites. We know sweetness from lack of sweetness. We know saltiness from the opposite. We know hot from cold. We know love from the absence of love, or even from the opposite, which could be hate or anger, aggression, things like this. Maybe not aggression. I think hate is more the opposite of love. So to handle love, to really be a vessel for love, it's a tremendous amount of energy. It's a big opening inside and a lot of space inside. And sometimes it can give you a lot of tingles, a lot of warmth. You need to be able to handle that love and behave appropriately, because the last time you felt that way was maybe, long time ago, and you were maybe punished for how you behaved. So it became this kind of punishment love relationship. And so you must be able to handle the most intense negative feelings. When you can behave, which means have a being, right? You have a beingness. When you can behave and you're more and more closer to your ideal way of behaving, of beingness, with the most intense negative feelings that you feel in love. I mean, we go through so much. If you love intensely, you'll feel intense negativity sometimes, but this improves your ability to love. The pain of the negative experiences of love, you use those to improve yourself. They do improve you. You must have, and then you come to the silent flute or something if this is foreign to you, but the idea of a winning attitude, a success mentality. How do you make everything for you? It's simple, but it's a process, and you must repeat it all the time. Make everything work for you. How you do that is a state of mind and a perception and what you tell yourself about what's happening. So this is, I'm just kind of throwing that out there. I mean, there's ways to get a handle on that, but that's what it is. Kickstart Cash, what's up, brother? What's up, brother? Brother from another mother. Do you know any? Oh, this one. Loyalty, this is a big subject. The idea of loyalty. You have to decompose and reverse engineer loyalty to even talk about it. It's one of those words that if 10 people are talking about loyalty, everybody's saying something different, really. What is loyalty? Comments. What do you think? What do you think loyalty is? Because, hold on, there's things popping up here. Hold on. We should probably look up this word, loyal. Because we're talking about love. It's a lecture about love. What is loyalty in love? Giving or showing a firm, constant support or allegiance to a person or institution. Okay, so giving or showing firm and constant support or allegiance to a person. Let's see, etim. Let's see where that comes from. Loyal from the 1530s. True or faithful in allegiance. True or faithful. So truth is unbreakable because 2 + 2 is 4. Faithful. Faith is the substance of things not seen. So you're full of the substance of something unseen. which would be the relationship, because the relationship is invisible. By the way, that definition of faith comes from the Bible. Just keep shout out Bible, the two bowls, Bible. The substance of things not seen. The relationship is invisible. Even when it's happening, you see two people relating, but you don't know how they're relating to each other in their minds. You don't see what images they're holding of each other, what ideals, what futures, what pasts they're remembering. The relationship is invisible, and it's different for both people. If for no other reason that they're looking out through their senses, and so they experience the other person from their senses. But the relationship is the thing that you're allied to, that you're faithful, that you have the substance of the ideal. This is faith. Faithful is the substance of the ideal. You're full of it. And that's loyalty. So loyalty would be fully in the ideal of your relationship. You're totally going for it. 100%. That's loyalty. So, not doing that, it's according to, the rules of the man and the woman. I have those. I think I'm seeing now more clearly, loyalty, it can be defined multifaceted. Every guy is going to have, but it comes down to the agreements between the man and the woman. And that's the substance of reality. And what they agree to, and then the loyalty to that agreement. The agreements are the relationship. So I was just saying this relationship is an invisible thing. That you see. Remember, it's the forces of nature. Remember, the first bullet point I did like 30 minutes ago was the forces of nature are invisible, but they're creating a visible effect. So the effect of a relationship, or what you see two people going through, what created that is invisible. It's in the genes, it's in the subconscious, their behavior, it's in their conscious mind. And that's where you get loyalties in the conscious mind, would be full of the substance, and even in the subconscious. You dig out you can't blame people for what they have in their subconscious until, they have a practice for it, and then you coax them along with that. And then it becomes about the practice, not what's in the subconscious. There's always going to be more dirt in there that is obscuring reactions. So your responses, it's obscuring your responses. I misspoke there. So it obscures your responses, the dirt inside, the cloudy or dark spaces inside that we're unaware of. And that's fine. That's the process of evolution. And with the ninth limb, my philosophy, that maybe I haven't codified exactly for you, but relationships are the integral feature of this ascension, this path of ascension. We ascend because we dig deeper into the minds, and the relationship becomes, it's an intimacy of the mind. And this is what faithful or loyal, I was looking at the etymology here. True or faithful in allegiance. So it's allegiance to what? Allegiance to a person, yes, maybe, but allegiance to an idea is always so much stronger. Allegiance to a future is always so much stronger. An ideal or an image. A philosophy, this becomes more timeless, and there's a security in it. So this was the whole bullet 11 here. So I just defined loyal because the whole statement is, do you know okay, so this is where you get every relationship is going to be different. It's based on the agreements. So it's an allegiance to the agreements of that relationship. So I'm not going to read this, actually. I'm not going to read this bullet point. There's ignorance in people's agreements. They don't know what they're passively consenting to because they have not discussed it. So men and women have passively consented to certain frames. Typically, the man is passively consenting to frames he's not bringing up because she's not going to bring them up. And you got to bring them up. And then you got to bring them up in a way that you lead her how to love. You lead her how to love. She's following you in how to love. And from the beginning to the end, and in the beginning, what you're getting is she has followed many other men, and it's wrong. I mean, if she's been with more than two men, she's chaos inside when it comes to a frame of reference, a point of view of how to love. She's an amalgamation of other men's ways of loving, and where are their relationships? So in the beginning, you're always leading her how to love. She just might not be picking it up the way you do, or it's in different increments, or she's very different from you. You just keep leading how to love. and you monitor the fucking dirt that comes up, you know? There's the one curse word, the whole fucking lecture. It can't be, well, I'm on YouTube. I guess it's different than Facebook. I don't know, Google versus Zuckerberg. Okay, almost done here. Just 2 more points. Lecture on love, you know? Love is another one of those words that there's so many ways to take it, so many contexts. And I immediately think of an unconditional love of my experience of life, which is, those are not just words. Like if you can experience unconditional love, no matter what, a love for what you're experiencing, which means never, you got to catch the self-talk. When are you saying, why me? If you're looking for that excuse. There's the love of the experience. That means the highs and the lows, the chaos and the order. And then there's also this romantic love I'm talking about, that there are ingredients too. And that's fine. We want to play both systems. One is a spiritual love, and one is the kind of love that causes men to be successful and provide for the world. Basically, everything you experience here was made by a man who wanted to impress a woman. So you're living in a world, the patriarchy provided you a lot of comfort for you. And fucking patriarchy. What was I saying? And then, you know, so and then for bringing forth life. So there's spiritual love, and then there's this like man-woman love, male-female love, that causes life to move forward and God, heaven to be made on earth. I mean, when I look at cities, I think of like Asgard, you know, so orderly. So going to the unconditional love, the love of chaos, is what I'm embracing. I've been embracing the love of chaos more and more, because I'm seeing how my magic, my mental magic, my agenda is messing up my magic. And I don't want to fall into that trap of create, get attached to it, create, get attached to my creation, create, it feels like a contraction. I want to create, let go, create, let go, create, let go, create, let go. And letting go is my agenda. Let go of my agenda, because I am the silver surfer of the chaos of the cosmos, the chaos of the universe. I surf the quantum field like a genie in your mind. I go anywhere, everywhere, always. I connect with omniscience. The good in you is, which is, I want to go into that in the silent flute. I haven't done enough sorcery. I will. The good in you is what I fell in. Oh, I'm reading this so casually. This is a good final point. I want you to think about this. Everybody catches this. I mean, this is how it works for me as a guy. I don't know if this is what it is for you as a girl. I can't pretend that I know what it is like as you as a girl, but this is such a, just like touches a note, like feels like a string gets plucked and then like a throbbing goes out. And this is the statement. The good in you is what I fell in love with. The good in you is what I fell in love with. The good in you is what I fell in love with. And this is true. The good in you is what I fell in love with. And remember how I said depth earlier? I was talking about the mind, and what is depth in the mind? There's a depth in concentration. You must concentrate on the good in the other person. Concentrate on the good in the other person. And follow all these other steps, which are mind-blowing steps. I can quickly recap them. First, notice that the forces of human attraction and human mating, human courtship, the forces in human courtship are invisible. That part of this courtship is comfort. You must create comfort and let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. What's up, Zanetti? Right? Oh no, that's not Zanetti. Let it go. What gets in the way of letting it go is your reactions, which is a dirty consciousness. I, as the man, take responsibility. So you should also, I think, I believe I'm doing that because I think you also should. First, you as the man, lead in how you love. Look at it like that. She's looking for love. Love is not the feeling, just the feeling, but the feeling is the result of other things. So you're leading how to do other things, and these create love, these behaviors, cues back and forth. But chasing her is not part of that, because if you chase her, that's not how you want to condition her to love. She's not going to fall in love with you chasing her. She's not going to follow you if you chase her. How can you lead by chasing the people you're leading? That's not how you lead. You're chasing her to hope that you can then lead her. And that's going to just push her away and into another man's arms. The fear of the weight is what prevents you from really loving. When you're afraid, prevents you from loving. Fear is in many ways the opposite of loving. Mature love looks, these are just a recap of the bullet points. The mature love looks at what it looks like in the future. What is it going to do for my future? What does this love do for my future is what maturity, the most advanced stage of the process. What does it do for my future? Remember, we're not talking about the unconditional love of your own experience. There is no unconditional love for other people. That doesn't exist. In as much as they are outside of you, you can't love things outside of you. You only love things within your awareness. So unconditional love is just unconditional love of your awareness of everything. Whatever you become aware of at any time in your life, you love your awareness. Unconditional love is inside. Outside is always conditional love. You can try to bring out your unconditional love, but that's not going to work too well for male-female relationships, because there are other ingredients besides just being a kind spiritual being. Otherwise, you would see Eckhart Tolle or Sadhguru with the most amazing relationships, the most amazing women. It's not, the spirituality alone doesn't do that. It's an essential ingredient because it makes it timeless and multi-lifetime. And that's really rad. And I am convinced that some of the most spiritually adept people on earth are not spiritual teachers. They're not. They are famous people. Not all, there are obviously the fucking weirdos, the pedophiles, Pedowood and Pizzagate and all that stuff. But there are people of very high ascension on this planet that earned it either in this life or previous. And that's rad. Okay. So mature love looks at what is it going to do for your future. I want the person that talks himself into liking me, not talks himself out of liking me. And here's the big one. To handle your capacity to love, to feel and be comfortable with the openness inside of you and all of the trust and alignment, allegiance, right? I'll get into loyalty next, but all of the loyalty, to have trust in the loyalty, and while holding the big space and all the tingles and warm feelings that comes up with it, and that it kicks up from your childhood, you know, when you originally felt that and then were punished for it, or behaved in a way that you were punished, and then it scolded and scorned, scorched. Sorry, that's the term. It scorched that feeling of love a little bit. You must be able to handle all the negative. You got to have your beingness. Behave when the negativity happens. Behave what? Respectfully, loyally, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, it's a process. This whole thing is a process. You dig out the dirt. This is why the relationship is part of the ascension. We're not going to ascend by ourselves, because if you do, you'll get up somewhere in the objective world, in the object world. You'll ascend, and then you'll still go for the relationship, and it'll crash you, or it'll crash you. There's really no way around it. The relationship must be in the ascension. I mean, you as a man will keep ascending because you'll keep relating with women, and women could ascend if they kept relating with men that were ahead of them, leading them in how to love and doing all of these sorts of things. They don't need to know these steps. But I mean, how conscious are guys these days? Even the guys in the spiritual community. I mean, they're not who you think they are. The guys that you're looking for are not who you think they are. But it's their job to show you that. Okay. So you got to be able to handle the negative. Do you know any beautiful women that are loyal? I didn't say this earlier. That's the whole statement. Do you know any beautiful women that are loyal? Beautiful women that are loyal. It depends on the agreements of the relationship, but look at that for what it is. If you think that girl that has a boyfriend is talking to you, is she violating what you would consider an agreement with a girlfriend. If she is, then you are talking to a disloyal woman in your mind, and you're creating a disloyal woman because that's what you're looking at in here. It goes to the final saying. I'll get to the final saying. I'll just kind of say it right here. Is the good in you is what I fell in love with. If you fell in love with the taboo quality of the relationship, like, oh, you were luring a woman away from her man or something, that's going to create problems because you're falling in love with the taboo in the woman, and she's going to taboo on you. So you fall in love with the good in the woman, and that keeps recreating that. Fall in love with what's loyal about the woman, and you keep recreating that. And what gets in the way is your agenda. So you let it go. This is a process of let it go, practice of let it go. The agenda gets in the way. Let it go. Let it go. Let go of the agenda. You can create the agenda, but then let it go. Create, let it go. Let it go. Let it go. All right. How you let it go? Come to the silent flute tomorrow. It's a postponed lecture. I thought I was going to a yoga class today, but there was a capacity. I guess I was on the waiting list and I didn't hear back. So I did this free lecture on love. Hope you liked it. Comment, share it. You can always message me. Go to ninthlimb.com and sign up for the silent flute. Let's see. We got some comments here on YouTube. They push you to be your best. The bad love experiences of the past. Do you think there is a base to all relationships, a perfect way it should be? Donate $5, LOL. Arash did this lecture for each time he cursed and said he would donate $5 to every participant. I don't think he did it. I am the Silver Surfer. Yeah, cool. As far as, is there an ideal, I don't know. It depends on the guy. I can't speak for other guys. I would say read the books on evolutionary psychology. Familiarize yourself with the plight of women and the strategies of men, and see what's available to you and start to make your decisions from that. And okay, that's all for now. Thank you for this free lecture, and I'll see you on the next one. Blessings. Be a better word.